Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Ninja Zombies from 2011, a film that, to be honest with you, I was completely ready to shit on this thing. I downloaded it, I was skipping through a little bit of it, I thought, nah, this isn't looking very good. But I watched it tonight, and I had a handful of laughs. This really wasn't a bad film. Yeah, it's low budget, and I'm trying to think of, well, all right, on IMDb, it's got, this is kind of harsh. From 187 users, it's averaging 2.1 stars, and I think it was a little better than that. This is not a trauma film to my understanding, but Lloyd Kaufman does make an extended appearance, and he actually wasn't all that bad. Story's about a young Japanese guy. I think he's like 20. In fact, it's about his 25th birthday, and he's living. I think it's Connecticut. I'm not quite sure where this goes on, but he's inherited a house from his family because his whole family has died, and he's got the rooms filled with like college kids and people. You know, he's renting this place out for the most part, and he lives there. And he's kind of a geek. He's got a geeky podcast with his geek friend. And fuck all of you that are like snickering right now at me and McPierce. You know what? Burn in the living Hades, you asses. So he's doing a nerd podcast, and his best friend is there with him, and they get these plastic swords, and they have they do this little insult thing back and forth and have a really entertaining, non-choreographed, because it just was so shitty that it couldn't have been, plastic sword fight running around their house, and it was actually pretty good. And they've got a couple of fat loudmouth jocks living there, but they're not really jocks. They're like the big guys who are big enough to look like jocks and be bullies, but not really be athletic, living there, and a couple of girls. So for his 25th birthday, he gets a letter from his family saying, well, the letter's like, hey, if you got this, sorry, because we're dead. And it's from his parents, and here's a key for a trunk in the basement. And apparently he's never really fleshed out the basement, because down there in the basement is a trunk, obviously, no shit, Mike, and there's a katana sword that is the Hell Sword. It's kind of like the Japanese Darth Vader lightsaber. It has red flames coming off the blade. And there was a bit in the beginning about the origin of the sword and a guy that gave his life to keep the power down and to put his soul in the sword. It was too involved for me, but what I will say this film did, it made a nice story. Written by Noah Cooper and Michael Castro. Michael Castro was Luke star. I'm not at all surprised by that. And obviously, I'm thinking he dated probably both the girls that appeared in this film. It just seemed like that kind of film where you put your girlfriend in it. But the acting, though not good, wasn't bad. If I were to have gripes with this film, it would be the same blood splatter used over and over and over and over. Anyway, so he comes across this Hell Sword that we saw in the beginning that kind of was a treasured sword that this guy stole. People came after him. Looks like Raiden from fucking Mortal Kombat actually came after him. It was this girl's dad. He gave his life, put it in the sword to keep the evil down, and it saved the earth until now. Well, of course, one of these girls that rents a room from Luke realizes that this sword can bring back the dead, and she lost her brother, so she goes to the cemetery, stabs the sword in the ground, and sure enough, he comes back, starts biting the shit out of everybody. He's a zombie. Starts the little mini zombie apocalypse in their area. So they get together, kind of like Shaun of the Dead, and they fight, and they fight, and they fight, and they fight, and it's actually kind of funny. I wanted to be annoyed by this film because I'm fucking exhausted, and this was a low-budget film, but I really wasn't all that annoyed. Maybe I'm just exhausted. I'm like just submitting to the B, C, D list movie. I don't know. But it wasn't nearly as bad as I expected, and I think it's certainly better than the 2.1 star rating on IMDb. It's not a great film, but hey, it was very watchable. It went in areas that it's not unusual to see a Japanese film take on a zombie film, not at all, but to see an American film embracing Japanese culture and bringing a zombie film into it was something I don't recall really seeing. And I did appreciate that part of it. I appreciated the fact that they gave these guys some funny dialogue, that the kind of best, the friend issue was paramount. Do you save your friend? Do you fight for your friend? When you get separated from your friends because you're afraid, do you find the fortitude to fight your way back to them and stand by their side? And that took place in a couple of different ways in this film. So, to be honest with you, I kind of like Ninja Zombies from 2011. I don't want to blow it in case you see it, because it did just come out, and I really believe it's worth a little watch just to see what they did with it. I swear, I think I saw something like projected budget in this was $2,500. If that's the case, most of it was spent on the iMac that edited the film, and they did a pretty good job. I liked a lot of these shots. There wasn't a lot of frivolous bullshit, and there were real fight scenes, because this movie does incorporate a lot of ninja zombies, which I have trouble buying into it, because ninjas are so fucking good and zombies are so fucking clumsy. Shouldn't they even out and be like fighting Jethro or something from the fucking Beverly Hillbillies. I don't understand, but it was entertaining all the same. Wasn't a great film and how you get Lloyd Kaufman in this, I don't know, because there were no rubber monsters, there was no Toxie, there was no Sergeant Kabuki Man, but what I did like, if you do see this film, it's almost like Lloyd Kaufman was driving by and they said, "Oh my God, Lloyd, could you be in our film?" Because he was completely, he didn't look like he was ready. He was wearing a white shirt that had a Trauma bumper sticker over like where the name tag would be, and I think it was an "I love Toxie" sticker in the middle. Whereas like I'm sure Trauma has plenty of swag shirts they hand out that have the the name printed on and maybe something embroidered, but this wasn't the case. This is something that was thrown together on the fucking scene. And Noah Cooper, if you ever hear my review of your film, would you please email me and let me know if I'm fucking right? And if anybody knows what the story with Kaufman getting involved with this film and why his shirt was so bumper stickered together, if I'm right or wrong, please let me know. Email in. I'd like to hear. I'm going to say on the Berdinsky rating scale, which of course is the most stealthy, the most Japanese, and the most flesh-eating scale there is, it's kind of like Staff. Ugh. Oh my God, I've got some Berdinsky rating scale on my arm, but luckily they think they'll be able to save it. I might have to transplant some of my ass or ball skin up onto the wound, but it's a price you pay. On that scale, this would be a borrow. I don't think it's a buy unless you're collecting every fucking zombie film ever made, and it's worth a watch. I kind of like the characters. Now, I talked to my son tonight. He says, "Are you going to be on Xbox playing Minecraft?" And I'm like, "Nah." I even said, I have to watch Ninja Zombies for tomorrow's show. And he goes, "Oh, I saw that, but it stunk." He wasn't a big fan. So, and that also ushered me into this film's going to suck. But you know what? I don't think it sucked at all. Wasn't great, but definitely watchable, even though there were no boobs. And there was a couple of broads in this where it's like, being topless would have been fine with me. I like the characters. What could I say? Anyway, I'm headed to bed. So, yeah, check out Ninja Zombies 2011.